A change of command. General Stanley McChrystal out. General David Petraeus is in. This coming Tuesday, the Senate Armed Services Committee will hold confirmation hearings for General Petraeus. He will likely face a bunch of questions on the strategy as he goes forward in Afghanistan. Let's talk about it now from Washington with Republican Senator from Georgia, Saxby Chambliss. He is also a member of the Senate Armed Services Committee. Does General Petraeus essentially sail through this questioning, Senator?
Well, certainly General Petraeus is very much admired and respected, even by those folks who were criticizing him a couple of years ago. He certainly showed great leadership in carrying out the surge in Iraq, and I think for the most part people understand on the Armed Services Committee that it'll be a seamless transition from General McChrystal to General Petraeus. So I think it'll be not necessarily a friendly hearing, but it's going to be one that's going to have a lot of pointed questions relative to where we go in the future with respect to Afghanistan.
One of those senators who was critical a couple of years ago was the senator from Illinois at the time, Barack Obama. I want to play a little clip of his opening statement, one of his statements to the general, and then get your reaction.
This continues to be a disastrous foreign policy mistake. And we are now confronted with the question, how do we clean up the mess and make the best out of a situation in which there are no good options? There are bad options and worse options. And this is not a criticism of either of you, gentlemen. This is a criticism of this president and the administration, which has set a mission for the military and for our diplomatic forces that is extraordinarily difficult now to achieve.
He made the point there that he was not criticizing General Petraeus, rather criticizing then President Bush. I guess the question is, did General Petraeus go on to accomplish the mission?
Well, he certainly did. And turns out then Senator Obama was wrong at that time. And of course, we know that he's tried to take some credit for the ultimate success in Iraq. Well, it doesn't really matter who gets the credit. The fact is that General Petraeus was very successful in Iraq. He and General Odierno and now General Austin have provided great leadership over the past several years in Iraq. We now have to transfer that to Afghanistan. And one thing that General Petraeus is going to have to look at right out of the box, and he'll be questioned about next week, is this July 1, 2011 deadline that the president is seeking to have it be a hard and firm deadline. And if that's the case, then there's no way for General Petraeus to succeed in Afghanistan. So I suspect there'll be a number of questions directed at him relative to that deadline, John.
Well, that's a tough position for him to be in, isn't it? To maybe buck his commander-in-chief and certainly the vice president, who have both been pretty explicit, saying the troops are going to start drawing down in July?
Well, I would hope that the confidence that they have shown in General Petraeus will lead to listening to his advice. If his advice is that the situation on the ground in June and going into July is that we ought to start coming out, fine. But if he says, look, we have got issues here that have got to be resolved, we not only need to stay longer, but we need to be on a slow pace and possibly even add troops, then I hope they would listen to that also. Because we can't afford to fail in Afghanistan. There are too many negative consequences for that to happen.
Those are going to be important hearings. We'll be listening to you when they begin next week. Senator Saxby Chambliss of Georgia.
Thanks.
Want to get to this new controversy.